Thank you. I wasn't really thinking, look, I really wasn't thinking about recording it. Yeah, I really wasn't, but now I am. So welcome to 3 Tips for New Entrepreneurs. I'm Mario Armstrong from NBC's Today Show. I'm also an entrepreneur and the founder of the Never Settle Club. The Never Settle Club is a community online to help people go from passion to profit. So we help you understand exactly what your skill set is, what you're passionate about, and how you can monetize that passion so you can live the life that you really would like to live and just live a happier life. My guest right now today is James Oliver. He's the CEO of WeMontage and a founder of that and a funded startup guy. So I want James, go ahead and introduce yourself really quick about WeMontage, and then we'll get into these 3 tips.
Sure. So as Mario mentioned, my name is James Oliver Jr. I'm the founder and CEO of WeMontage.com, which is the world's only website that lets you take your images and turn them into a large custom collage on real removable wallpaper, kind of like you see behind me. So this is a 8-foot by 10-foot wall in my home of my wedding pictures. We got married in the Dominican Republic, and it was a beautiful day. My wife looked amazing, as you can see. And every time I walk over here, it brings me joy. You know, what's funny now is like this is the kids' play area. If I like show you the whole thing with the, you know, all the trampoline and all the toys and stuff. I have 2.5-year-old twins
Great
too.
Transparency there.
Yeah, I got 2.5-year-old twins, which is kind of nuts. So
yeah, which is good though, because this is also like, you know, we could do a different blab a different day about how to be a parent and an entrepreneur. Like, how are you, you know, running a family, being home, and also being an entrepreneur. We both have stories that we can go on for that, but we're going to keep We're going to keep it focused. We're going to keep it focused. Can you add, so we got a question coming in. Can you add the Facebook group to the comments? Yes. Anybody, can you just go ahead and add, you know what? I can do that like probably super fast. I can copy and then come back and paste that. Great question. Good for me to try this out really fast, and boom, there it is. Okay, so great. Yeah, so we would love for you guys to join the Never Settle Club. Again, it's a free club that's on Facebook. It is a closed group because we really want to have people in there that can either really have experience and can really help other people, or we want people in there that really need help. And whatever your passion may be, whatever you're trying to pursue, that's what the club is about. James is a member of the club. He knows what goes on in there. In fact, he's probably one of the, if not he's probably like the top 2 poster in the group of posting all types of great information and transparency. Quickly, James, we only have a little bit of time both together. We're both got to jump on calls. We got things we got to do, as most entrepreneurs have to. We wanted to share 3 tips for new entrepreneurs, primarily focused today on how to deal with your ability to take the punches and to take the kicks when things aren't going well. Anybody can talk about how great things are when stuff is going well. Anybody can give you advice on that. What we're going to do is actually share with you real experiences that we've gone through. We're going to name real companies that we've dealt with, and we're going to tell you exactly how we were kicked in the teeth, but what strategies and things that we use to kind of persevere through that to be successful, because everybody is completely talented. All of you that are watching are completely talented. It's just a matter of being able to stick with it, having a market that really is truly validated and there, and then being strong enough to be able to deal with the bad times to get you through. So I'm going to go straight to you, man. You got your head going down because you know exactly the pain.
Oh, my God. You said pain. That reminds me of that article that I wrote. So I'm also a parent entrepreneur advocate. I didn't mention that.
Yep.
Find my blog, treplifedad.com. If you want to, I guess you type that in at some place, TREPLIFE dad.com. You type that in for me, Mario. So that's my blog. And there I just blog about the grind of being an entrepreneur. I talk about some family stuff every once in a while. I also share recipes because I'm the primary cook in the family. But, you know, I wrote this one article a while ago and said, you want to be an entrepreneur? Great. Can you stand the pain?
Right. That's what it boils down to.
You know, we were talking a while ago about crickets, right? And it's funny because you mentioned that to me the other day. I wrote that article talking about crickets, and this other guy I know wrote a post about how these days, you know, you email people, you call people, and they just ignore you. It's like David Cohn, you know, he said in his book, Do More Faster, which is one of my favorite books, by the way. David Cohn, phenomenal venture capitalist, investor, Techstars co-founder. He said, you know, most people eschew the telephone, like yourself, right? You don't really like the telephone. You don't do the telephone. You're like, don't even leave a voicemail. But if you're going to be that way, Dave is like, don't suck at email.
No, it's true.
That's what David said. You can't suck at email. So, but anyway, so people just don't get back, act like you never called. It's like, how do you manage the crickets when, you got 2 or 3 high priority things that you're grinding on, trying to get done, and people are acting like, you don't even exist on the planet.
Right.
Like, so how do you manage the crickets? And so I just had 2 thoughts about that. And I think it's really important to have enough activity, right?
Okay, so tip number 1, you want to wage the odds in your favor. You need to have enough activity that's happening so that you can survive it. So that's tip number 1.
Well, it's not just surviving, but if that's the only thing you got going on and people not getting back to you, and you're going to get pressed, and then you're going to come across as desperate, right? And like we talked about earlier, I wrote an article about how desperation caused my first startup to fail. The truth is desperation stinks, and people can smell it a mile away, and they're in the opposite direction.
Yeah, well, you snagged one of my tips, because mine is like, definitely don't be desperate.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. You didn't know it was going to happen, but that's definitely one of the things. It's like desperation seeps in, and when desperation seeps in, really the tip is emotion. Really, the tip should be emotion. Because desperation is a sign of your emotion. And so when you're emotionally attached to a particular project or a particular thing happening, or even your particular product or a particular opportunity, when you get emotionally attached to that, the pain of it not happening is that much greater.
Yeah, man.
It's on steroids, the amount of pain that happens.
Yeah, it's like you said in your podcast the other day, you got to stay grounded. I mean, you want to be positive.
Sure.
And this is a comment that could lead to a whole other conversation, but I don't think that optimism alone is sufficient to generate the outcome you want. So I think for me, and this is just for my own mental health, right? Yeah. I just try to stay neutral. I'm expecting things to go well. I'm positive. I'm hopeful, but a lot of times things just don't go the way you expect them to go, right?
Well, that's the whole thing. And that's why your first tip of having enough activity is dead on target. Because if you have enough activity, you don't have to sweat every activity.
Exactly.
You can actually allow yourself to breathe and you can be hyped. You can be excited. Yeah. You could want that opportunity to happen. But the minute that's going down, that's where you need to stop, because you need to have enough of those things that you're excited about.
That you're not pressed, right?
Right.
So, I mean, a perfect example.
Even though you are.
It's like one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from a buddy of mine. We were playing golf. This is back when I was trying to start my golf magazine back in the day. And he said, his grandfather told him, entrepreneurs got to be like a duck. You got to be, calm on the surface, but paddling like hell underneath.
Yep. It's true. It's true. And that leads to your first tip. So having enough activity is the paddling like hell underwater. So first tip as a new entrepreneur, you want to make sure you have enough activity. The second tip that I want to give that we did is don't tie emotion to the actual project or to be happy, be excited about it, but here's the perfect analogy for me anyway is, if you're going to buy a car, do not go and test drive the car. Do all your research and everything online first. Make sure you can actually afford the car you're interested in. Know exactly what your loan rate is going to be, what the bank rate, get all of your facts put together before you go. So you know exactly the amount that you can actually afford. Yeah. Then you can now, with all of your facts and information, now take that to the dealership and go and test drive a car that you can actually afford.
Yeah. If I can circle back and just give an example, I think kind of ties 2 of those points together with respect to activity and expectations and emotion and all that. So, one example is, we got a really beautiful write-up over on marthastewart.com, which is
this is where we're about to get real, people. Hold on. This is why we're bringing you the realness right now. Here it comes. Here it comes. See, a lot of other blabs might talk about that philosophical stuff way out there in the yonder. We're going right in. We're going right in. So go ahead, man. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to get people ready.
So ridiculous. We really had this beautiful review on Martha Stewart. Obviously, Martha Stewart is an 800-pound, the gorilla, 800-pound gorilla, a beast in the home decor space, just just a tremendous franchise, just a beautifully written article. And
about your product.
About my product.
Which is right behind you. So.
Right, exactly, about We Montage. And, so my business, really has survived in a lot of ways on PR, which is not really good because PR is unsustainable, it's unpredictable.
Right.
So, like I heard a story, I'm gonna digress here, but I heard a story about a guy who actually got featured on Today's Show. And this guy, like, he spent tens of thousands of dollars on all this new product inventory because he thought it was going to be this explosion in sales, and he got no sales, right? So that's just like crazy.
So, I mean, that's let me tell you something. Being a guy that's on the Today Show that talks about a lot of product, that I've never even had that happen. Every time I've talked about an app or every time I've talked about a product, you can better believe there was a bump. So I don't.
Well, it wasn't you. It wasn't you that was pitching it. But
I didn't even know this product was horrible.
A crazy story I heard. But so going back to the Martha Stewart thing though, so I'm like, oh, dope, right? I got this Martha Stewart piece coming, beautifully written article, great pictures, and it posted, and it was crickets, right? So
you got nothing.
No, right? I mean, I got a nice little feather in my cap, which is dope, right? But my kids don't eat feathers.
Right.
Right. So, but I knew though, because a lot of it, sometimes it's timing, it's where they put it, it's the day they publish it, how much they promote it, so many factors outside of your control, right?
Yep.
But I knew, I wasn't worried about it because I have like 10 million other balls in the air, which goes back to the activity piece, right? But I knew that there was still a chance that, it might get syndicated or they might promote it somehow, that somebody special would see it and it would help, right? So one day, this was like August 1st, out of the blue, I was looking at my analytics and I started seeing all this traffic from Yahoo. Yahoo syndicated the Martha Stewart article. And then, I had like 7,000 visitors to my site in 2 days from this one article on Yahoo. So it ended up like working in my favor, but you just got to have enough balls in the air so that if something like that happens, that you're expecting it to be like blow up and it doesn't, that you don't really care. I mean, you care, of course, but you're just not sweating it.
Yep. No, this is really, really good stuff. James, we have a question from the Racing Chef. He wants to know, what is your business? So quickly, some people are still jumping in kind of late. So just quickly explain what's behind you.
My business is wemontage.com, WEMONTAGE.com. And it's the world's only website that lets you turn your pictures into a large custom collage on real removable wallpaper like you see behind me. That's an 8-foot by 10-foot wall of my wedding photos behind me that we made from the website. It's about 35 pictures. You can see the quality is really, really good.
Quality is amazing, and it's removable, folks. So this product is amazing because it basically enables you to use it in a multiple variety of settings. People are using it in their businesses without having to put paint on the wall or without having to really do anything expensive to put this up. Like it gets done.
Yeah, right. Compared to like picture frames.
We're doing
really
it.
Affordable. We've had tons of college students buying it with back to school. It's been amazing.
Yep.
So we just got a great write-up in Your Teen Parents magazine yesterday.
So there's no hammer and nails. There's none of that.
No nails in the wall, exactly. So anyway, you got to have enough activity, folks, so that if, one thing that you're counting on doesn't happen, you're not, getting all the press about it. And for me, I take that approach because I got to manage my mental health, because a lot of times, like Mario said from the beginning, it's just effing painful, right?
No, it sucks. The pain is real, people. Like the hurt, like you put your blood, sweat, you put your equity, your time, your money. You may have even maxed out everything like we did.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
I lost my job and then decided to try to go out and launch a business, not knowing that in 6 months after losing my job, 9 months after losing my job, that the recession would hit. And basically my wife then left her gig to try to do some consulting on the side. It was just a mess. I mean, we basically ran out of all of our savings. We cashed out the 401k. We maxed out the credit cards. And I had a 5-year-old kid at the time, with my wife. We had a 5-year-old kid that we're trying to raise. And we're like, if we make it through this, we're entrepreneurs. But that's like the worst case for us anyway. Yeah. But these bricks hit you unexpectedly. And one of the tips we're trying to share with you is you have to have enough activity happening so that when a brick hits you, it's okay. You can be able to move over you can take that hit and kind of move over to the next project and hopefully replace that hit with that particular project.
And the reality is, like,
if you don't have enough activity.
Right. The reality is like you never know when things are going to hit.
Yep.
Right. So you just got to have enough stuff in the pipeline. There's this book I see people talking about a lot now. I think I saw it in Lamar's group. 10X, by Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of people swearing by that. Basically, you just got to like ramp up what you're doing like times 10 to have, to get the phenomenal results you want at the end of the day. So.
Yeah. And, and it's more than just, so let me come back. So number one was enough activity.
Yeah.
Number two was don't let your emotions get the best of you. Try to stay emotionless as much as possible in terms of attaching yourself to a particular opportunity. And then I think we need one more tip. We got to give them a third tip.
Persistence. Persistence is the key, right? So I wrote an article on the blog. I think I published it late last night about like what's your next move. So one of my favorite books is The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz.
Okay.
And there's a couple takeaways in there, but the one that I focused on in this article is he said, well, two takeaways. One thing he said is, the only difference between successful and unsuccessful CEOs is the successful ones, they just don't quit. Right?
No, it's easy to give up.
That's it.
It's easy to give up. There's
not having the best product or best service.
Yeah.
You just got to not quit.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the product that you're going down, you're doing the Titanic with.
Right.
Again, at some point, what the persistence means is like you have to pivot at some point. It means maybe your product isn't supposed to be hitting the market that you thought it was.
Right.
Maybe there's a different market that actually should be using your product, or maybe no one should be using. Maybe no consumer should be using your product. Maybe you should be licensing what you've built to some other company that could then use your software. It's like so many different ways that you can keep going to not quit. But people get so like tunnel vision, and you should have an element of tunnel vision to stay focused.
Yeah,
focus removes other opportunities, or when that focus actually creates blur because you can't see anything else but that one thing you're focused on. That's most of the time when people say, I can't take it anymore, I give up, I quit. And it's because they really weren't paying attention to the signs along the way that maybe, and look, you can't just, Bob, and you can't just be flexible for every single thing that comes your way, because then you never do have focus and you'll never get something done. You have to have a set of principles and set of a belief system that you're going to stick to, but you still have to be just open enough that your ego and self-pride isn't making you miss other opportunities.
Well, that leads me to the other point, which is kind of a nice little segue when he talked about, when you're facing a challenge in your business, you always have a move, right? Even if you think you
always have a move. That's a really great point. Yep.
Even if you think you don't have a move, you have a move. But you have to be persistent enough to figure out what the move is. And then you got to have the fortitude, right?
Yep.
To go make it happen and make the move. So in my case, back to the real stuff, one of the biggest problems that I have in my business is that we created this whole new category that really nobody's looking for on the internet because they don't even know it exists.
No, right.
Right? So when we get these great pops, like when you featured us on the Today Show, that's awesome, but that's just not sustainable, right? So, one of the moves I have is, so a couple months ago, I was like, damn, I got to try to offer some products to people that they're already familiar with that I can sell consistently to generate some cash flow, to give myself more runway to make WeMontage a household name, right? So I have a new mentor who's a COO of a big company in my space who introduced me to the COO of a company owned by Zazzle, which is a company that I actually want to acquire us someday, right? And that woman had a relationship with the people at Groupon. Now, if you ever try to do anything at Groupon, it's like a freaking black hole over there. So the fact that I got a warm introduction to somebody that was receptive, that made a referral because it wasn't their wheelhouse, to somebody that does national deals, we got everything set up. So my move is Groupon, and it's actually running today. We're running 2 variants. We're testing it in 5 markets each to see what performs better. And whichever one does better, we're going to launch nationally. And I'm hoping, because here's the reality, like the economics of Groupon are not necessarily, they don't weigh positively in an entrepreneur's favor, right? They take 50%, they make you cut the price in half. And unlike a lot of the businesses in the photo space, I don't mark my product 3 to 5X, right? So my margins are thin relative to the competition. So for me to cut my price in half, and then, oh, by the way, I have to split that last piece with Groupon.
It's an exposure deal.
Well,
You know?
right. It's advertising expense, right? It's a little
But
cash
get
pop.
back to the point. But get back to the point of like, why that because I'm trying to follow you in terms of how that's a tip for a new entrepreneur.
Because you have to. So because like you said, it's painful, right? Things get hard. You're sitting around trying to figure out what do I do next, right? I can't tell how many times I'm like, man, I don't know what to do next. But I know because I've been in the game long enough now to know that when my back's against the wall, I have my biggest breakthroughs, right? And I always figure out a next move, right?
So,
and
your point you're making is like there's always, even though it may seem shut down, there's always a next move.
But you got to be persistent enough to figure out what the move is, and then you got to have the courage to make the move.
Right.
But you got to have the fortitude and the persistence before you can get to the point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think this, when we're talking about new entrepreneurs, a lot of them may not even have these relationships. They may not have these types of connections.
It doesn't matter.
No, exactly. That's my point. Like you have to be willing to put yourself. Look, you got to know your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
If you know that if you can't be that persistent type of individual, then you better team up with somebody that can and figure that out. Because if that's not you, if you're a behind the scenes person and you know that, then some people would say, Mario, can't you just work on your weaknesses? I'd say, look, when you're trying to like jump into business, that is not the time for you to start trying to figure out how to work on your weaknesses. No. That phase is already past. That was like back when you were in high school and you were trying to learn Spanish and French and none of that stuff stuck with you. Like, I'm not saying you can't do hobbies on the side. I'm not saying you can't pick one thing that you can work on. But what I'm saying is when you're going to launch a business, that is not the time to then determine what your weaknesses are and try to turn them into strengths. Your best piece of advice that I can give you, my best piece of advice is to amplify your strengths and immediately find other ways to either outsource or get a team that can handle your weaknesses. Exactly. That to me is going to give you the best running start off the bat.
That's perfectly said. I have nothing to add to that.
All right. Well, let me see if you have something to add to this. Because we got a couple of people that just joined, Brad, Gerald, a couple of others that seem to be maybe just joining. So you guys are joining the 3 tips for new entrepreneurs. I'm Mario Armstrong, a media entrepreneur, I would call myself. I'm on the Today Show and also run a club called the Never Settle Club. In fact, we're going to have web guy Shai, who's on my team, join in on this blab in just a second. And then my guest is from WeMontage, the CEO and founder of that company. An amazing product. I'll let him explain it really quick in another 15 seconds. His name is James Oliver. James, real quick, your product, which is behind you, tell people that are new.
Yeah, so it's WeMontage.com is the world's only website that lets you turn your images into a large custom collage on real, like, removable wallpaper. So what you see behind me is a 8-foot by 10-foot wall of my wedding photos, like 35 pictures that we use our website to create that. So,
you can do it on desktop, you can do it on your mobile. It's great. It's removable wallpaper, folks. So it looks every email, like sometimes James will send me emails from customers. And I'm telling you, customers are so blown away by the quality of the product. Amazing. Yeah. So when you have something that actually works well, actually has real value because people can really see their memories, they can see their life. Business owners can use it to show off their clients or just show certain angles of what they do and how they do it. And it's so easy to apply. It doesn't need hammers and nails. And then it works. When you have a product that's good, there seems to be a market that buys it, and you still get crickets on opportunities. Like you get featured in Martha Stewart, but then luckily, since you were featured in Martha Stewart, that ended up getting syndicated. That article got syndicated to Yahoo, which then got you some attention. But initially, you were emotionally attached to Martha Stewart because it made sense. Like, I'm gonna be on Martha Stewart's site. I should be slammed with.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there too, because like despite everything you just said about the business and the validation we have, $150,000 in sales or whatever so far, and but I still have not gotten a product market fit. Like I still have not found a customer segment that I could spend $2 in and get $5 from it.
Right. It's tough, but that's where the persist. That's why we were giving you guys new entrepreneurs. Tip number 1 that James gave was have enough activity. Okay, so have enough activity. Tip number 2 was persistence. Like you have to keep driving forward, and that's what you're discussing right now. It's like you could easily just give up, right?
But I don't. But you know what, though, Mario? Like going back to what I said about Ben Horowitz and the successful CEOs, they persist. Like that is the one thing that I'm absolutely best at is I'm persistent as hell. right?
Yeah.
So like I have a chance, and there's a fine line between persistence and annoyance, which is the other thing. When you're talking about the crickets, like if somebody doesn't get back to me, I will space it out. I'm not going to be blowing them up like every day or every minute.
Right.
Like, I'm going to keep calling. I will keep emailing until they tell me to stop.
Until they tell you to stop. Right.
Because 9 times out of 10, it's not personal. Right?
No,
it's not going to do with you.
No, it's not. Sometimes they don't look. If you've only done one email and that was it, are you kidding me? Like that can't be it, guys. Like do not let yourself get so demoralized by the fact that nobody got back to you. Like make sure your headlines are good. Make sure the email is short and concise and to the point. The problem that I see with most first impressions is people have not made the pitch relevant. Don't think so much about you. Think about the relevancy.
Oh my God. Yeah, we could talk for an hour. Yeah, it's just you got to learn how to write cold emails too.
It's
right?
true.
I wrote a cold email that got my company featured on CNET.com, which was like fantastic for business. I think that was in June. Yeah,
next gen Bizman says the same thing. He says, I'm the same way. I hear silence as opportunity.
Exactly.
Tell me otherwise. Yeah,
right.
Because they haven't actually said no.
Right.
So don't assume because they didn't pick up the phone. Don't assume because the email didn't go through or no one replied yet that's a no. That doesn't mean a no until you hear or see no.
Right. And even if they tell you no, it doesn't necessarily mean no. It could mean like no right now, but maybe yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? Yes, yeah, and not for nothing. Like when I first, so did I ever tell you the story? So you know the story how we met, Mario, right?
Yeah, make it quick. Unfortunately, I got to jump off.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, get Shy in here and everything. Let's go.
Okay, yeah, Shy, jump on in, man. I want to bring you in real quick to the blab. While he's doing that, I wanted to give one more quick tip of advice for new entrepreneurs. And Shy knows I live by this, and that is, if you can, to the best of your ability, you need to work from free to fee. Especially when you're just starting out. So if the best way to do this is if you got a day job and you want to become an entrepreneur, the best way to do this is to continue to try to work to get you experience in the industry where you plan on launching your business in. And so that way you're kind of getting like a little bit of an income from whatever your day gig is, but then you're using your free time to volunteer, intern, work for free as much as possible to build up that experience. That's been true for me. Like I worked a daytime job and then went on television to talk about technology for years before any of you ever saw me on like the Today Show or CNN. And I did all of that for free, like early 5 a.m. wake ups when the snow's outside, going into a local TV station to go and talk about technology. But I knew this was the business I wanted to explode in. And I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur in the media field. And we placed those bets and it worked out. Yo, Shy's in the house.
Let me just say quick. I did the same thing when I started off making websites when I was in high school. I did my first one for my dad for free. And then he introduced me to somebody. I did a company website for free. And then I was like, I'm going to charge like $100 for the next one. And then like $300 for the next one. And I worked my way up from there. I was making, pretty decent money making websites within a few years. I did a bunch for free. I did a bunch for like very small fees. And then I had a real portfolio to show off. It was awesome.
Yeah, so that's great, man. Well, I wanted you to join in too, because I know, we have a podcast, Shy and I have a podcast together where we talk a lot about these types of things with the Never Settle Club and the Never Settle Show. For those of you that are just joining, I'm Mario Armstrong. You may see me from the Today Show. I'm also an entrepreneur, founder of the Never Settle Club, which is an online free community for any of you to join if you're thinking about starting your business or already have, and you need a site or a group of people with collective wisdom and advice to help pump you up and to help keep you on track. We got you covered on Facebook. Just search for Never Settle Club or go to the website or go into the comments. You can see Shy just popped them both in there. And so we also have a podcast. And James is great too because he also writes a blog, Trek Life Dad. So this is really about entrepreneurship for dads, but I think even moms can benefit from the articles that you write about.
It's for entrepreneurs, parent entrepreneurs.
Yeah, perfect.
Grinding. I keep it 100, man, No.
So Shy, real quick, the most recent podcast, we'll share this as a quick tip for entrepreneurs. And then unfortunately, I do have to bounce in a couple of minutes. We just lost James. All right, so maybe he clicked off. I don't know.
Later, James. Sorry I didn't get to say hi.
Yo, James, come back, man. So my question was to you is that one of the things we were doing is giving tips to entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs. And as you know, our recent podcast is about compromise and how you should compromise. Is there anything that you want to share that you learned or thought about after hearing and doing this podcast with each other that you would share to a new entrepreneur about the power of compromise?
Yeah, I think I would say, before we recorded the podcast, the big question I had is compromise a bad thing? Is it a dirty word? Is it negative? Because, our Never Settle Club is all about never settling. And that applies to your work life, your home life, your education. I mean, everything that you're doing, any passions you're pursuing, never settle.
Yep.
So the big question I had was like, well, it's like sometimes when you're trying to do a business deal, or in your case, you were trying to get on TV, you have to compromise. Sometimes people ask you to compromise an enormous number of things. I mean, James is talking about how in order to get his Groupon deal, he had to compromise a lot of profits. On the podcast, you talk about how you had to compromise a lot of your ability to do things, from branding to what you can make money on, to whether or not you could do another show. And I think the conclusion that we came to was that, you have to compromise in almost any situation, but that you shouldn't have to feel bad about it as long as you know what you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
That you've clearly identified what is the benefit to me, what is that benefit worth, and am I comfortable making that compromise?
Yep.
Because one of the big things that you've always talked about was that you have to pursue your passion without compromising your morals or integrity.
That's it.
On the podcast, we were really able to explore, well, what does that mean? How do you know what your morals are? How do you know what your integrity is? And how do you know when going into a deal, whether it's business or personal, whether or not you're compromising that? So yeah. I think, the podcast is 45 minutes long. It's a lot more than we could possibly go into on Blab. But I would definitely encourage anyone who's listening who wants to know more about compromise and what we think about it to check out the podcast. I'll put the link in the chat again.
Yeah, it's an important point. It's a big deal because people sometimes get caught up in thinking that someone's taking advantage of you, or that I place a certain value on my particular product or my service at a certain level, and if I don't get that at all, I'm not doing the deal. And that may be something that is absolutely fine, like that's okay. But just realize the other side of that is you are going to shoot down potential opportunities. And for seasoned entrepreneurs, that's a different thing than it is for new entrepreneurs. Because typically what you're trying to do as a new entrepreneur is prove that you have the ability to either sell or deliver a service or sell a product that actually works. So you're still trying to validate yourself, get the authority and get the credibility that you're legit and that you can handle it. And a lot of times what you have to do first is to get clients. You have to work way below what you're willing to get paid for or to receive in order to get that business. So
dude, it's like, I don't know if you saw my comment in the Facebook group. It says sometimes you got to be willing to eat a big bowl of SHI and pretend it's peanut butter.
Yeah, it's good. It's the best.
But I eat both of that. Dude, I existed on that stuff for months. I ain't got for years. So now I'm all right.
You start imagining Spam to be a nice piece of steak. You start imagining Spam as a good turkey burger or something. It's oh, it's so good. No, you're right. So GG Solutions, Alex says, only if the sandwich maker has influence.
Hilarious. It's hilarious. Well, look, dude, that's just the way it is, though, sometimes, right? Because that's just how it is sometimes, man.
No, it's true. So hopefully, I think we gave some great tips about, what it's like to kind of start off as a new media entrepreneur. We just all wanted to jump in, Blab, real quick, share this with you guys, take any questions that you guys had. We can do that really quickly. We've got a 90-second countdown. Unfortunately, I got to jump to a conference call for more business. Let's see what SA. Let me see if I can hover over her name real quick. Okay, when you receive an entrepreneur, people are always asking questions and picking your brain for their own business. This is really important. I've given so much away just because I want to help. But what have I sacrificed? What I have sacrificed is opportunities to consult because I've underestimated my value. This is big. This is, Shai, you can relate to this. Really, anybody that's in a freelancer position or in a consultant type of position can absolutely relate to someone wanting to pick your brain for some advice and what your line is on giving advice versus giving away all of your value for which they should be paying for. Yep. And it's a very tough thing to juggle. And so now if you're at a point where you already have clients, and I'm going to give you a second, Shai, let you jump in. If you already have clients, I don't think you should allow people to pick your brain. Like, I don't think it should happen. I think unless you really want this client or there's some other thing that you're compromising on in exchange that is real clear value to you. And even still, I wouldn't give everything away.
I will generally only do that if I need as much from them as they need from me. So when it's a situation where somebody's like, hey, I really want to pick your brain on how I can get to Mario about this thing, or can you get involved in this project I'm doing? I will only ever agree to do that for free if it's something where I'm like, well, I might be able to use her for this project that I'm working on. I find that in that situation, fine. But if someone just needs you and they want your free advice, I think if you are established in any way, you should feel comfortable asking for money for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're not established, you need to show why you can. And look, some people, you have to trust humans too, to a certain extent. Like it goes back to James' first tip. The more activity you do, the more good people you will bump into, the more potential you will actually have to get a client that's paying. But one of the things that is a turnoff for me is if I say to someone, I'm interested in hiring someone for a particular position, and you tell me on the phone, like you searched out my company, you obviously are interested in wanting to do something with us, and then you tell me on the phone that, well, I don't want to tell you everything because that would be giving it all away. It's a tough thing, and I get it, guys, but maybe that person was recently burned by somebody, and that's why they feel that way, so I get that. But I'm not going to burn you, and you have no way of knowing that.
It's not like you have the time to steal their idea.
Hold on. But if you damn sure sell me in that moment right then and there, you probably are going to be the person that's going to get hired for the gig over somebody else. I don't know. It's tough.
Well, that's the equivalent of people saying, hey, I have this great idea, but I don't want to tell you about it because I want you to sign an NDA. I'm like, get the hell out of here.
Oh, yeah, right. No, that's another one. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, right. Like all ideas are new now. All ideas are new, really.
Ideas are worthless. It's the execution that matters.
It is. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you guys joining us. We got some feedback here from Chris Weeks that said, that the blab was dope and that the content was dope. Thanks, well produced. So I appreciate you guys being in well-lit environments. And having your sound right and actually having some clothes on. Guys,
big shout out to Chris Weeks and Keenan Flagler MBA. That's what's up. Go Tar Heels. What?
The Racing Chef says, great job. Amen. From I want to see what Sawwall Labs. Sue. From Sue. Usernames are a trip when you're doing these things.
Yeah.
And Alex is in the house. So this has been great. So I really appreciate you guys joining the blab. James, I appreciate you spending time. Shai, I appreciate you jumping in and giving some quick thoughts. Shai, drop those links real quick again, if you don't mind. I'm going to drop in. We're going to drop in James' Facebook link. I mean, his We Montage link. But yeah, guys, we're going to be, I think I'm going to be using this a lot more to do a lot of fun stuff. You dropped it in there too. Okay, cool. All right, guys, we're going to sign off. Any last words? Last words. You got 10 seconds. Go, James.
No, man. It's just, hey, listen, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be able to stand the pain. You got to be persistent. You got to hustle. Don't take things personally. Have enough productive activity going. That's it.
All right, Shai, go.
All right. If you're struggling in any way with email, be on the lookout for the November issue of Men's Fitness Magazine. Mario and I are working on an article together that is going to be dope. We're going to provide some really crazy tips for how you can better manage your email without the stress and without the worry and get some time back.
Yep. Mine is just join our free club. If you need help, we already got something for you.
Like what you said.
We already gave you a ton of tips and advice. So just join the club and you'll see how good it is to help you out with your future passion and your plans.
Yeah, what he said.
What he's Peace.
Later, guys.